Breaking limits, the day humanity shattered the galactic endurance record, the call for the impossible. In the year 2847, humanity was no stranger to challenges, but the galactic endurance record was something else entirely. Only 6 species in known space had ever dared attempt it, and none had succeeded for centuries. This trial, known simply as the Endurance, was a brutal, grueling test of a species' physical, psychological, and technological limits. It required not only a single vessel to endure but the people within it to remain cohesive, focused, and unbroken over a full galactic rotation roughly equivalent to a 47-year span in Earth's time. The reason for this colossal test? For centuries, interstellar alliances and federations had depended on this record to understand a species' ultimate resilience. The record represented the extreme durability of life under pressure and tested the very essence of unity under the most hostile conditions in space. To the Intergalactic Council, the record symbolized more than survival. It was a statement of existence, a flag planted deep in the recesses of hostile space, a demonstration of a species' right to be there. Humanity, relatively new to the intergalactic scene, had little in terms of prestige, their quick rise often dismissed by other species as reckless, naive, even dangerous. But in the face of skepticism, humanity had always excelled, and there was a hunger in their eyes, a desire to prove themselves against impossible odds. The crew's selection. Captain Elena Marquez stood on the threshold of the Grand Fleet Hall on Luna Base, her gaze steely as she scanned the faces of those gathered. Men and women, young and old, scientists, engineers, soldiers, medics, and even a poet or two, all the top candidates humanity had to offer. Each of them had been tested rigorously for the mission, passing trials designed to break the mind, spirit, and body. The selection for this mission wasn't solely about rank or even endurance, it was about sheer willpower and adaptability. In the dimly lit room, holographic projections danced above them, displaying the galaxy's farthest reaches, the alien systems they'd pass, and the desolate expanses they'd traverse. Elena knew some of them wouldn't return, but as she met their eyes, she saw no fear, only fierce determination. Today, she began, her voice echoing through the hall, we embark on a journey that no human and no alien in our known history has dared to finish. They call it the Endurance, a voyage meant to shatter body and spirit, to test the limits of not only our technology but our humanity. The crowd held its collective breath, the silence was charged, a tension like the crackle of a supernova about to burst. This is not a mission for personal glory, she continued, it is for every human on Earth, for the colonies, for our legacy. We either return having shattered the record, or we don't return at all. The response was a series of solemn nods. Each member had been briefed on the dangers. The challenge wasn't just an endurance test, it was a test of a civilization's ability to survive as one, across vast distances, with the kind of unity that transcended petty differences. Aboard the Hesperus. As the crew boarded the Hesperus, humanity's most advanced exploration vessel, designed specifically for this mission, they couldn't help but feel awe. The Hesperus was a marvel of engineering. Its triple-layered hull could withstand radiation storms and its artificial gravity system adjusted to protect against the prolonged effects of space on human bones and muscles. More than a ship, it was a fortress and the only home they would know for the next half-century. The Hesperus's bridge gleamed with state-of-the-art technology, while the walls displayed murals of Earth, each image designed to remind the crew of home and inspire them when the journey grew dark. Alongside technical blueprints and maps of unexplored star systems, a simple sentence was etched across the main hall. We are the children of Earth, carrying her strength across the stars. Elena took her place at the helm, watching as the main view screen lit up with an intricate map of their route. Massive red zones marked areas of unknown hazards, asteroid fields, gravitational distortions, uncharted wormholes, and even the ever-present risk of hostile encounters with alien species or rogue AI remnants from civilizations long gone. The mission was fraught with known risks and dark uncertainties. Dr. Sahil Mehra, the chief xenobiologist, leaned in beside her. Are we really ready for this, Captain? He asked, his voice low. Elena took a moment to consider his question. The truth was, no one could be ready for something like this, but that was precisely why they had to try. The universe doesn't wait for us to be ready, Sahil, we go because we must. Humanity needs this. He nodded, understanding the unspoken weight of her words. This mission, after all, was about more than survival or accolades. It was about humanity staking its claim in a universe that had often looked upon them as little more than dust on the cosmic wind. The launch. When the launch countdown began, Earth's governments broadcasted it across every colony, station, and outpost in human space, from children on Mars to miners on Europa and exiled scientists working on Pluto's dark side. Every human soul was watching, united in anticipation. For the first time, perhaps in centuries, the fragmented nations of Earth held their breath as one. As the countdown hit 0, the Hesperus ignited its engines. The crew felt the subtle tug as the ship slid forward, leaving the gravity of Luna base behind, propelling itself into the vastness. "Engine diagnostics are green," reported Lieutenant Kaminsky from engineering. His voice echoed calm confidence through the calms, a small assurance amid the enormity of the mission. "Setting course for the galactic fringe," Lieutenant Ren Takahashi announced, as the stars spun in the viewport, aligning themselves along a path most human eyes had never seen. The magnitude of their mission settled in. For the first few days, the ship hummed with focused, deliberate activity. Everyone performed their duties with meticulous care, from maintenance checks to establishing personal routines that would help maintain mental stability. Psychologists had advised this regimented lifestyle to counteract the effects of prolonged space travel and isolation. Yet each crew member knew that no amount of preparation could account for what lay ahead. But as they approached the first checkpoint, a massive gravitational anomaly, surrounded by dense asteroid fields, the reality of their journey started to sink in. Captain Elena Marquez knew that in the face of this endless dark, their greatest challenge wouldn't be the external dangers but the mental endurance of the crew itself. Little did they know that their endurance would soon be tested in ways far beyond even the most advanced simulations. The silent encounter. Weeks later, as the crew was finally settling into their routines, something appeared on their scanners. It was faint, nearly undetectable, a single distress signal, pulsing weakly from a region just outside known space. Captain Marquez's brow furrowed as she reviewed the data. The source was ancient, from a time even before humanity had achieved spaceflight. The signal's modulation suggested it was alien in origin, though its language patterns were unfamiliar. More troubling, the coordinates were near the Vanathi Expanse, a region known for its eerie silence and rumors of strange disappearances. The crew gathered around the holomap, the faint signal blinking on the display like a heartbeat from the dark. "It could be a trap," Ran remarked, eyeing the signal with suspicion. "Or it could be a ship that tried the endurance route and failed." Captain Marquez looked at the blinking light, her jaw set. The risk was undeniable, but so was the possibility that someone or something had been waiting there, stranded, for centuries. "If it were us out there," she said quietly, "we'd want someone to check." She didn't need to say more. The crew nodded, understanding the decision without words. They plotted a course toward the signal, aware that this detour could bring unforeseen danger but also that it aligned with everything they stood for. In that moment, they weren't just breaking a record, they were reaching out into the unknown, carrying humanity's enduring spirit with them. As the Hesperus began its slow approach, all eyes were fixed on the viewport, peering into the darkness, searching for answers in the endless void. Into the abyss. 2 months into their journey, the crew of the Hesperus faced the first serious challenge on the galactic endurance route, a region known as the Kelgrath Drift. Here, gravitational forces surged unpredictably, creating a dense field of drifting asteroid debris and ancient shipwrecks, silent relics of previous, failed attempts at endurance missions. Each broken hull spoke of a story cut short, a reminder of the stakes. The asteroid belts around Kelgrath were notorious for random gravity fluxes, causing uncharted collisions, and even the slightest impact could tear through the ship's outer layers. Yet, the Hesperus had a unique advantage: humanity's latest innovation in graviton shielding, a system that absorbed and redirected small gravitational waves rather than merely resisting them. It was a design untested in real conditions but theoretically capable of withstanding even the toughest regions of the route. Captain Elena Marquez studied the asteroid field through the main viewscreen, a frown settling on her face. The projected path was perilously narrow, and if they failed here, the Hesperus would be reduced to mere dust. "All right, crew," she began, her voice steady but carrying an edge of urgency. "We're entering the drift. All stations, I want a double check on shield integrity and engine response. Lieutenant Kaminsky, make sure our shielding isn't overloading if the gravitons start going haywire. We need an immediate system recalibration. Everyone, stay alert." Dr. Sahil Mehra, the xenobiologist, looked at his screen, his nerves apparent. Let's just hope the Calgraph Drift's legends are more myth than reality. Elena managed a small smile. Myths are just data without proof. Sahil, let's prove them wrong. Navigating the drift. The next hours were intense. Lieutenant Rin Takahashi worked meticulously, guiding the Hesperus through the asteroid field with careful precision, while Kaminsky monitored the shields, his hands darting over controls like a concert pianist. Gravitational alarms buzzed every few minutes, signaling fluctuations that would have caused catastrophic damage to most vessels. But the crew stayed synchronized, the years of training kicking in as they adjusted the shield frequencies in real time. They moved through the field like a predator stalking through dense undergrowth, swift and purposeful. They had nearly cleared the drift when an unexpected surge of gravitational force rocked the ship. Warning lights flared red, and the shields began to strain, bending under the invisible weight. Shield integrity at 57% and dropping, Kaminsky shouted over the alarm, sweat trickling down his forehead. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. Redirect auxiliary power to the shields and plot an emergency escape vector. We've got to break free of this flux. Ren's fingers flew over his console, but just as they initiated the power transfer, another surge hit, this one even stronger, and the vessel shuddered as if it were in the grip of a colossal hand. Captain, we're being pulled into a gravity well. If we don't escape soon, we'll be trapped, Rain yelled, fear edging his usually calm voice. The unexpected solution. Elena's mind raced. She'd trained for situations like this, but they'd all been theoretical. Just as she was considering the grim possibilities, she remembered something about the unique properties of Calgrath's gravitational anomalies. Kaminsky, she called, could we amplify the ship's artificial gravity on one side only? Create a controlled imbalance? Kaminsky hesitated, understanding the risks. It could work, but it'd be dangerous. We could destabilize our core systems, Captain. It's a gamble we have to take, Elena said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Do it. Kaminsky's hands moved quickly, adjusting the artificial gravity fields to generate an intentional imbalance. For a nerve-wracking second, the ship began to tilt dangerously, pulled deeper toward the well. But then, with a shudder, it broke free of the Calgrath Drift's grip, rocketing out of the asteroid field and into open space. As they exited, the tension lifted, and the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. They'd survived their first real trial, and they'd done it together. Murmurs of doubt. Despite their success, the encounter left an indelible mark on the crew. During the next rotation, some began to express quiet concerns about what they'd just experienced. Even with their advanced training, the drift had been far more intense than expected. The strain of extended isolation and high stakes was beginning to show in small ways: impatient glares, curt responses, and the silent weight of doubt that hung in the air like mist. One evening in the mess hall, Dr. Mara found himself in conversation with Lieutenant Takahashi, his usually cheerful demeanor replaced with a haunted look. I know we signed up for this, but it feels different when you're out here, doesn't it? Mara muttered, staring into his cup. Ron nodded, his face unreadable. I've been through countless simulations, but this is unpredictable. It feels like we're in a different reality, where everything's hostile. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Captain Marquez, who'd overheard their exchange. She regarded them with a steady gaze before speaking. Every species that has tried this mission thought the same thing, but we're not them, she said, her voice low but resolute. If we start doubting now, we're as good as done. We came here to prove we could endure, so let's prove it. Her words had the desired effect, and the men nodded, reassured. Yet even as they returned to their stations, a quiet question lingered in their minds: would they be able to endure not only the physical challenges but also the invisible weight pressing down on their spirits? The beacon in the dark. As the Hesperus approached the source of the distress signal, the stars outside the viewport seemed to dim. A faint, pulsing red light grew on the screen, surrounded by drifting space debris. It was like a ghostly heartbeat in the blackness, and the closer they got, the quieter the ship seemed to grow, as if the crew itself were holding its breath. Distance to signal origin, 20,000 kilometers, Ran reported, his voice barely above a whisper. The source of the signal slowly resolved on their screens. It was an enormous structure, half buried in an asteroid, surrounded by scattered wreckage. Ancient runes glowed dimly on its surface, symbols unfamiliar to any human records. This wasn't a simple derelict vessel, it was a massive space station, an artifact of some long-lost civilization. Captain Marquez's gaze narrowed as she took in the sight. Kaminsky, initiate a deep scan. Let's see what we're dealing with. Kaminsky's fingers flew over the console. Scans show minimal power levels, no life signs detected. However, there's an interior compartment shielded from external scans. Could be an emergency containment area or a secured data vault. That signal, Elena mused. It's been broadcasting for centuries, maybe longer. There's something important here. Something that station's creators wanted others to find. Dr. Mara leaned forward, his voice hushed with wonder. What kind of technology could last so long? Maintaining a signal? This station could hold answers to some of the galaxy's oldest mysteries. Elena nodded, weighing her options. They were already diverting from their mission route, and investigating could be risky, but the promise of knowledge and the strange, almost urgent feeling from the station compelled her to move forward. We're sending an away team, she said decisively. Kaminsky, Mara, Takahashi, you're with me. Boarding the Relic. The team suited up, donning reinforced exosuits designed for zero-gravity and potential contamination scenarios. They boarded the small shuttle, its engines humming softly as it detached from the Hesperus and drifted toward the silent station. As they docked with a portion of the wreck, Kaminsky activated the airlock scanner. Minimal radiation, no signs of toxic atmosphere, but still, keep helmets sealed. No telling what's been trapped here. The hatch creaked open, revealing a corridor cloaked in shadows. The walls were lined with strange metallic panels, etched with symbols that seemed to change under their lights, shifting and almost shimmering. As they moved cautiously forward, the silence was complete, broken only by the hiss of their suits' life support systems. Dr. Mara activated his helmet camera, recording everything. I'd bet my life this is older than anything the Council's ever seen, maybe older than some of the species we know today. The team reached a large, domed chamber, the source of the pulsing red light. In the center of the room, hovering within a containment field, was a small, dark sphere, no larger than a human heart. It seemed to absorb light, casting a faint, ominous glow. Kaminsky ran a scan. It's not any material I recognize, and there's a low-level energy signature, could be what's powering the distress signal. Elena circled the containment field, eyes fixed on the sphere. She felt a strange pull, as if it were reaching out, drawing her closer. Could this be some kind of message? A warning? Before anyone could respond, the faintest whisper echoed through their calms. It wasn't in any language they recognized, but the tone, melancholic, pleading, sent a chill down their spines. Did you all hear that? Elena asked, voice tight. Mara nodded. It's as if something wants to communicate, or maybe it's an automated transmission, an ancient signal repeating over and over, like an echo lost in time. Elena took a steadying breath. We're taking the sphere. We'll bring it back to the Hesperus and run a deeper analysis. The containment field flickered as Kaminsky deactivated it. Carefully, he placed the sphere into a secure case. The moment it was contained, the red pulsing ceased, and the station's lights dimmed, as if the last remnants of energy had finally been depleted. The team felt a strange sadness as they turned to leave, as if they were abandoning a once mighty sentinel in the dark. An ominous revelation. Back on the Hesperus, the sphere was placed in a quarantine lab, shielded from the rest of the ship. The crew gathered in the observation bay as Kaminsky ran a deep analysis, his console humming as it processed the sphere's unique energy signature. Finally, the scan completed, and Kaminsky leaned in, his expression troubled. Captain, you need to see this. Elena joined him, peering at the data on his screen. The energy readings revealed a complex sequence, a repeating pattern of information hidden within the signal. It was a message, and Kaminsky's translation algorithm had deciphered enough to reveal the chilling words. This message is a warning to those who enter the fringe. Beware the darkness. We were the ones who tried to endure, who sought to conquer the silence, but the silence consumed us. To those who follow, know that survival is not merely the endurance of the body, but the endurance of the soul. Beware. The crew looked at each other, each one grappling with the ominous warning. Lieutenant Takahashi broke the silence. It sounds like this station was part of an attempt to complete the endurance record. Maybe they failed, and whatever happened to them left this message as a warning. Elena's jaw clenched. They were on the same mission, chasing the same goal, and here was a grave left by those who had tried before. This changes nothing, she said, her voice steely. If anything, it proves what we already knew. This journey is dangerous, and the galaxy has claimed others who tried it, but we're different. The crew nodded, bolstered by her conviction, yet the message lingered in their minds, casting a shadow over their resolve. The edge of madness. Days passed, and as the Hesperus ventured deeper into uncharted territory, the psychological toll began to weigh on the crew. The ship's systems, though advanced, could not wholly shield them from the relentless isolation. The cold emptiness seemed to whisper, filling their minds with doubts and questions, as if the darkness itself was probing their sanity. Dr. Mara found himself drawn to the sphere, spending hours studying its patterns, obsessively searching for any further clues in the signal. Kaminsky caught him staring at it one evening, eyes glazed with fatigue. "You've been at this for hours, Sahil. The warning, you're letting it get to you," Kaminsky said gently. Mara's gaze didn't waver from the sphere. "It's more than a warning, Kaminsky. It's like, there's something it's trying to tell us, something it wants us to understand. Maybe if we could just..." The lights flickered, and a low hum reverberated through the ship. Alarms blared, and Elena's voice crackled over the comms. "All stations, report in. We've entered an unknown gravitational anomaly." Ren's voice came through next. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from a nearby region. They match something similar to the sphere." Elena's heart sank. It was as if the sphere had led them into a trap, like the artifact itself was a beacon calling out to a hidden danger. But turning back wasn't an option. They were far beyond known space, with limited resources. "Hold your positions. Keep systems running at minimal power to avoid detection," Elena ordered. The tension was palpable as they drifted in the anomaly, waiting, hoping they could pass through undetected. Then, a series of alien symbols flashed across their screens, accompanied by a deep, rumbling voice that resonated through the ship. "To those who endure, know this, beyond the void lies the test of your worth. Will you prove stronger than the silence?" Elena felt a surge of adrenaline as she stared at the message. The endurance record wasn't just a test of survival, it was a trial, a cosmic rite of passage, and now, they had crossed into the very heart of it. She looked around at her crew, their faces reflecting a mixture of awe, fear, and determination. They had come this far, and whatever awaited them on the other side, they were ready to face it together. The descent into darkness. After navigating through the gravitational anomaly, the Hesperus was officially in uncharted territory, a place where even the most advanced star charts were rendered meaningless. The crew, already on edge from the ominous warning, knew they were headed into the heart of the unknown, and their minds strained against the creeping sense of dread. Dr. Mara, who had spent days poring over the sphere's patterns, was the first to notice a new anomaly, a repeating sequence within the ancient signal. It pulsed in a rhythm that mirrored their own energy emissions. "Captain," he said, voice trembling, "the signal, it's adapting to us, as if it's trying to interact directly with our systems. We've somehow activated it." Captain Marquez exchanged a wary glance with Lieutenant Ron Takahashi, who was analyzing the sphere's response on his console. "Captain, I'm detecting another signal coming from outside the ship. It's faint, but it's there," Ren said, his voice tense. "It's as if something is calling back to the sphere. There might be another presence in this region of space." Elena nodded slowly. They had come too far to back down now. "Prepare for a course change. We're going to follow this signal," she ordered, her voice unwavering. As the ship adjusted its heading, the sphere's pulsing began to quicken, drawing them toward the Vanathi expanse, a region infamous among deep space explorers as a graveyard of failed missions and lost ships. There was no recorded map for this part of space, only rumors and tales of horror. The Ghost Fleet, the Hesperus, entered the expanse, and what they found was unlike anything they had prepared for. The void was filled with the drifting remains of ships from dozens of alien species, each vessel a lifeless shell, and yet, each one appeared almost perfectly preserved, as if they had been frozen in time. Kaminsky, watching from the control room, felt a chill run down his spine. "I recognize some of these ship models. These are some of the finest ships from across the galaxy. Every species that's ever attempted the endurance route, they're all here." Elena surveyed the ghostly fleet. "It's as if this region claims those who enter. But why?" A deeper scan revealed the answer. The ships had been drained of energy, every system, every power source stripped away, leaving only empty husks. And at the center of the field was a massive structure that dwarfed even the largest of the derelict vessels, an ancient alien station, its surface covered in symbols eerily similar to those on the sphere. Ren's voice trembled over the calm. Captain, the sphere's pulsing is perfectly in sync with that station. Whatever we've been following, it's led us here. Elena took a deep breath, steeling herself. Prepare an away team, we're going aboard. The station of trials. As the team boarded the station, they were immediately struck by the strange gravity fields, shifting from one direction to another as if the station itself were alive. Symbols etched into the walls glowed faintly, illuminating the long corridors leading into the heart of the structure. They soon arrived at a central chamber, where an altar-like platform held a larger version of the sphere they'd recovered. As the crew approached, the spheres synchronized, and a low, vibrating hum filled the air. A voice, not in words but in feelings, poured into their minds. It conveyed images of other species, all attempting the endurance, each one faltering at the final trial, and then it spoke in words, ancient yet clear. Welcome, travelers, you have endured well, but to complete this journey, one must be willing to sacrifice, to confront the dark within and survive. This is the true test of endurance. The crew looked at each other, unease settling heavily upon them. The images had shown them glimpses of their deepest fears, the darkness within each of them. The message was clear: they were not merely fighting the silence of space, they would have to face the darkness within themselves to succeed. And then the floor shifted, and the crew was separated into individual chambers, isolated, alone with their thoughts and fears. Each chamber began to fill with projections, memories dredged up from the darkest parts of their minds, forcing them to confront moments of weakness, regret, and loss. Kaminsky faced the memory of a mission gone wrong, one that had cost the lives of his crewmates, and the guilt he'd buried for years now surged to the surface. Dr. Mara found himself reliving a personal failure, a time when he'd let fear stop him from achieving greatness. Each crew member, lost in their own torment, fought to maintain control. Only Elena's voice cut through the silence, her words steady and resolute. This is what the test is. It's not about the ship, or even our lives, it's about whether we can endure ourselves. Stand firm, Hesperus crew, we didn't come this far to fail. Slowly, each of them emerged from their trials, battered but victorious. The station's voice filled the chamber once more, softer this time. You have passed. Remember, the endurance of body and spirit is the true mark of survival. Go forth, travelers, and carry this strength with you. With that, the chambers released them, and they returned to the ship with renewed determination. The final stretch, the Hesperus emerged from the Bunathi expanse changed, not just as a ship but as a crew. They had faced their fears, and they had survived. The galaxy was vast, full of unknowns, but they were ready to face it. Months turned to years as they continued the journey, braving nebula storms, gravitational maelstrom, and alien encounters, each one testing them further. The crew grew closer, bound by the experiences they had endured together. And finally, 47 years after they had first set out, the signal was sent back to Earth. They had completed the endurance. Humanity had shattered the record, but more than that, they had left their mark on the galaxy as a species willing to push the limits of body, mind, and spirit. Homecoming. When the Hesperus returned, humanity welcomed them as heroes, their names etched in history, their journey a testament to human resilience. They were greeted not just by those who remembered their departure but by entire generations who had grown up hearing of the Hesperus and its courageous crew. But Captain Elena Marquez and her crew knew the truth. Their journey was more than just a test of endurance. It was a reminder to all who dared to explore the stars that true strength lay in unity, resilience, and the ability to face the darkest parts of oneself. And so, humanity's name was forever carved into the annals of interstellar history, a beacon of hope and tenacity shining across the galaxy. They had broken the limits not just of the physical, but of the spirit, proving once and for all that no challenge, no darkness, could extinguish the light of human endurance.